This video is going to include 2 questions of area practice from the booklet, starting with number 7. It says a semicircular flower bed has a diameter of 185 centimeters. Determine the amount of landscaping fabric that's required to cover the bed before the soil and compost is added to the bed. Write the answer in, this is the most important part, square meters to the nearest thousands. Draw a sketch and label it. So I'm going to draw a semicircle. In order to find the answer to the question, you have to recognize 2 things. I'm asking for square meters, which is area, and I'm asking for coverage of a region, which is also the concept of area. So to find the area of a circle, which we definitely have a formula for, we need to calculate or have 2 things: the radius or the diameter. In this case, we do not know the radius originally, but we do know the diameter. Now there's a problem. The diameter is given to you in centimeters, and you must change your dimensions into the proper required final answer first. Otherwise, you'll have to square your number, and I've seen that cause a lot of trouble in the past. So my suggestion is always change to the desired unit first. What this means is that this is the diameter is actually 1.85 meters. But I want the radius. So the radius is going to equal half of that. So 1.85 meters divided into 2 is going to give you 0.925 meters, or half of 185 is 92.5 centimeters for the radius, if that's your diameter. Long story short, we're required to take the answer to meters. This is what we're going to use, the radius in meters first. So rewrite the formula: pi times the radius squared. The radius of the whole circle, of course, is 0.925 meters. You're going to square that number. You're going to get an answer for all of this, and then you're going to divide it by 2. So 0.925 times 0.925 times pi is going to give you 2.688. So use your calculator, check it out. But we're required to divide it by 2 because it's a semicircle. So the 2.688 divided by 2 is going to give you a final answer when you round to the thousandths place of 1.344 square meters. Now, if you hadn't listened to the advice you were given, and you did it in centimeters first, you would have had pi multiplied by 92.5, and you would have squared that, and you would have divided by 2 because it's the semicircle. You would have got an answer of 13,440.126, and that would have been square centimeters. The reason I'm suggesting that you don't do it this way, unless you're very careful, is that this answer is in square centimeters, and a lot of times students will try to divide or change square centimeters to square meters by just simply dividing by 100, thinking there's 100 centimeters in a meter, so I should be able to divide by 100. But again, this is square centimeters, so you have to divide by 100 squared, and dividing by 100 squared is the same thing as dividing by 10,000. Are you going to remember that? Divide by 100, divide by 100 again. I tend to think that you won't, based on 8 years of experience. But if you can, and you do, fine. My advice will always be to change to the desired unit first, and you won't have to worry about the conversion in the end. So that's the area of the semicircular flower bed, 1.344 square meters. Question 8. The front of your garage needs to be painted. The top area needs to be painted, everything except for the door. You paint everything except for the door, and the door is 1.5 by 2 meters wide. So you're required, how many square meters of paint are required? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the dimensions of the door on the diagram. The door is 1.5 meters high and 2 meters wide, so 2 would go along the bottom, 2 would go along the bottom, and 1.5 up the side. That door does not need to be painted, but everything else does. The first rule for finding area, which it doesn't really say that directly, but you should, well it does actually, is that when you're trying to paint something, you want to cover it. I'm going to separate my diagram into figures that I can find the area of. So we're going to find the area of the triangle on the top. We're going to find the area of the bottom, but we're going to take away the door because you're not going to paint the door. So you're going to have to figure out how to find the area of all of the green, but not the white door. So we have two shapes. The first thing that I would do is I'd find the area of a triangle. On your formula sheet, the area of a triangle is found by taking the base of the triangle, multiply it by the height, and then dividing by 2. The base of the triangle is 3.5. The height of the triangle is 1.2. Got to divide it by 2, as the formula says for a triangle. So base times height, 3.5 times 1.2, divided by 2 gives you the area of 2.1. Now the area of the rectangle, forgetting the door, would be 3.5 by 2.5. So 3.5 by 2.5 is 8.75. The area of the door, which you're not going to paint, is 2 by 1.5, which works out to be an area of 3. So to find the area of the total that requires painting, you're going to add the 2.1 to the 8.75, the whole rectangle plus the whole triangle. Then you're going to subtract the door. So the area that you're going to paint is going to be 2.1 plus 8.75 minus the 3, which works out to 7.85 square meters. That's the answer to A. 7.85 square meters. 1 can of paint covers 2.5 square meters of area. If I set up the question for B in a proportion, if I said 1 can of paint is the equivalent of, or requires, 2.5 square meters, then how many cans would you need, X on the top, for 7.85 square meters? To cross multiply and divide, you're going to get 3.14 cans, but you can't buy 3.14 cans. You can only buy a whole number of cans, so that's going to mean 4 cans of paint. Now, if 1 can costs $32.47, how much will it cost to paint the front of your garage? Well, if you take 4 cans and multiply that by the cost per can, $32.47, that would give you a total of $129.88 before tax for the paint. If you want to find the tax, you could do the long way, the way we learned in class. Take 13% of the $129.88. 13 times $129.88 that's divided by 100. That's going to give you tax of $16.88. If you add that on to the cost of the paint, it's going to give you a total of $146.76 for 4 cans of paint. So this is a lesson, another kind of example where you're required to cut your diagram into pieces you can find the area of. Be careful it's not glitches, like in this case, the fact that you don't paint the door. Just subtract that area away. Find your total area, and then go ahead and apply all of your what ifs. What if a can of paint cost this? What if the tax rate was this? And do all your math after that. So area is the coverage or the space between your outer boundaries, and the perimeter is the distance around the outside. You've got lots of different area diagrams in your booklet, trapezoids, rhombuses, parallelograms, all those other words. So go back and review all that. If you do this practice, you follow along, you do your assignment, you should be in good shape. Thank you.